to talk about Manchester United and how everyone is actually hating on Manchester United and how they're basing every single thing they're saying just on 2 matches. They're basing that Anthony might be the major flop aside from Harry Maguire for Manchester United. And they're saying Mason Mount is probably another flop. And of course, yes, you want to judge a player up with the preseason and you're thinking maybe they prove themselves and they want them to prove themselves as the season starts. But then you kind of have to look at it. Not every single person is a Erling Haaland. Not every single person jumps into a new team, settles down very quickly, and all of a sudden scoring early bangers. Yeah, I understand Anthony's this second season that he's at Manchester United, but in Mason Mount, he only played 2 matches, and 2 matches is not enough to decide if a player is a flop or not. 2 matches is not a very good sign to tell whether the team is going to be winning the league or not. Example number one is Manchester City. Manchester City, we thought they were never going to win the league last season because Arsenal, they were on top with so many points, and yet they did win. So it wasn't really about where they started. It was where they ended and how they played the whole season, because Arsenal ended up bottling the whole season. But what I have against, what's going on early this league is people pointing out the flops, and the season just started. It's only been 2 matches. It's not that deep. And while you're on top of that, while you're talking about major flops, no one is talking about Arsenal purchasing Declan Rice for £100 million. No one is talking about Arsenal purchasing Kai Havertz. They purchased Declan Rice for over £100 million, and Declan Rice is just an average midfielder. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a very good midfielder. And I solely believe that English players, they're always overpriced. And this stems from Mason Mount, Harry Maguire, Declan Rice himself, because they do not cost that much because they are just average players. They cannot do much significant. They cannot do anything that's special. They're not that special players. Declan Rice is an average CDM. He was playing with little averages in his previous team, and then they buffed his price because of the hype he had. But he's nothing special. Yes, there's a different exception when it comes to Jack Grealish, but we know in his first season at Man City, if it wasn't for the performance he did last season, yeah, he would have been a flop. We would have labeled him a flop. But he is just an average CDM. Let's talk about Chelsea. Chelsea spent £140 million on Caicedo. No one is talking about this flop of a debut. No one is talking about how he messed up every single thing. And yes, it's embarrassing that Chelsea still managed to spend so much money and still managed to not win any game so far. But again, it's the first 2 games, and we cannot decide the outcome of the whole season just based on 2 games, and we cannot decide the outcome of the whole season just on 2 games, just because the player has 2 bad games. And they're the only 2 games he's played in a new club. We cannot base everything on that. I do not think Mason Mount is going to be a major flop. I do not think he's going to be a flop. I do not think Anthony is a flop. I think he's been a very good addition to the club. I do not think Marcus Rashford is not doing his job because, again, last season he scored more than 30 goals, much more than a lot of players, a lot of strikers. And let's not forget, Marcus Rashford was not even a striker. He converted from being a winger to being a striker. So we're actually playing him out of position. And with the way he's playing, I think it deserves a lot more credit than a lot of harassment we're getting from all these other fan bases, right?